Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Carina from Break Fear, Find Freedom. And if you remember, we had beautiful Osa Sjoberg last week, and we were talking about twin flames and soulmates and so many beautiful things. And this is the perfect time to speak about these things. So we're going to continue the conversation with a bit of a change and just see how the conversation goes, because that's what makes this podcast so exciting. So hello, Osa, how are you today?
Hello. I'm well. How are you? Excited to be here again.
I'm awesome, thank you, Osa. And I just want to if someone didn't remember, the last week's podcast will be in the description box, but I just want to just reiterate a bit about what we spoke about twin flames and soulmates. Tell me a bit about your twin flame journey up to now, and then let's take it from there.
Yeah. So just to do like a brief recap, I have always had deep experiences since I was just a few years old, from out of body experiences and visions, and sometimes you are not sure what they are at the time, but you just have a knowing of something deep. And so, as far as the twin soul, or whatever we want to call it, twin flame, twin soul, deep soul connection from past lives. That holds a great impact in whatever way it's going to be in this lifetime.
Yes.
When I was about, I believe it was like somewhere 9, 10, 11 years old, something like that, I had these deep like visions, and as an adult, with the connection with this man, that it was just this very intense and powerful and also hard moments of just like I'm like, where is this coming from, and
Yes.
but I just knew that it was almost like movie clips, but yet I was feeling them and experience them. And again, I was so young, but me as an adult. And so anyways, you go on and live life, and you have your experiences in every which way. And then about, it was around 2012 or something like that, I believe, about a decade ago, there was, and I've had certain deep feelings about things, not always very specific, but these deep senses and feelings. And then about a decade ago, I was together with a few women who invited me to their circle, who are very, very clairvoyant, and they feed off of each other. And they knew that I had, well, one of them who invited me, she knew that I had deep sort of gifts and a lot of stuff going on, and she wanted to invite me. So I was there with them, and they just started, there were a bunch of things they were saying about me and that they saw and certain things. But the one thing in relation to this was that they saw a man coming into my life of great significance, and they described him also to a T.
Wow.
I mean, and I didn't know then, physically, and some certain traits and so on. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. And and then there was one thing that was said about the hair, and I'm like, oh, I was kind of jokingly saying, oh, I don't like long hair on guys overall, but, it was kind of in a light manner. And then, you move along and life is lived and so on. And then about 3 years ago, it actually happened like this. I met somebody at a mutual friend's place, and we could almost like finish each other's sentences, and in some ways, and there was such a connective thing for me. But I still didn't know. I've had that before to different degrees, and
Yes.
but then a few weeks in, basically, I really understood that, wow, this is what I have felt and seen, and and so that's kind of the overall view. And then over time, I mean, it has been the most intense connection that I've ever had, because we all have people that we come across from previous lives, whether we're aware of it or not. Sometimes we have a sense of, ooh, I must have met this person before, and ooh, this feels a little familiar, oh, what, in whatever way. But this is something where I'm also a very sensitive empath, right? So I pick up so much on the collective and from people, but the amount of stuff and the way I have picked up on him, whew, yes, it's been extremely intense.
So I just want to ask you, and I think we spoke about it last time, but how did you know? When was it that you knew that this was different somehow?
Well, a few weeks in, something happened. And again, I'm not here to talk about, I'm also a private person, right? And
Yes.
also for them. So I'm not here to talk about any details whatsoever.
No.
Yeah, but a few weeks in, something, I guess there was a trigger that happened for him through me. And I was like this. And basically, just to be short about it, I just walked away, and I'm just like, wow. And that to me it was jarring, but at the same time, I did not take it personally, what happened. And I did not, I was just kind of like, okay, that's what it is. Boom.
Yes.
And then my guides, we all have guides, spirit guides and angels, ancestors, and all this. If we are in tune and get into that and pay attention and listen to our intuitive guts and all of that, they were kind of prompting me to reach out.
Yeah.
And I was even like, are you crazy?
No.
Why would I put myself in that? Whatever happened,
Yes.
No. But it kept on kind of being there. And there were several locations of that after, actually. And I found myself just like talking to them out loud sometimes, like, no, what do you want me to feel, safe and protected? And I'm not saying safe as in I was in danger, but just all around, energetically and
Yes.
emotionally, spiritually, and all of that. And but it kept nagging me. And then I wrote something. I wrote something out, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to write it out, because that's a good thing to do in whatever way sometimes, right? And I wrote it so in a message, but I'm like, yeah, maybe I won't send it. I'm just going to write it out.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what? It just came to me that no, send it, but then you leave it be. And sorry, this collar is just kind of, it's uneven for some.
It looks good.
And and then it just kind of went from there. There were statements I made in there that and something that I saw a lot what came out of, like, I just picked up on so much what happened in that moment, and I spoke it out.
Nice.
And without any kind of accusations or any kind of, and from there, he actually responded back. And there was a sense of, and I didn't expect anything. And I actually kind of didn't wanted to be anything really after that, but I just merely needed to get it out. And I think also per his guides and what I have, understood and picked up and learned, and why I had come in to his life and so on. So so that's kind of what happened, and there was a respect of, because he understood that I get a lot, and yet it was also, I think, quite jarring and a vulnerable time also for him, because it exposes things. But yeah, so that was when I really figured, and then it just kind of was confirmation after confirmation with things that, yeah, this is because, again, I picked up on so much. I mean, that's not mine, that I just like, whoa, and I knew, even not being around, that something was going on over there. And I got it confirmed from him as well.
So I love the open communication, because that's always very difficult, right? When you've got something in your heart, sometimes it's so difficult to speak it up, or to write the message, or to make the call, or whatever it is, because the stories, we make up the stories in our heads of all sorts of things, and then it's like, oh, this is scary stuff.
Yes.
But you actually took that leap of faith and did press send. How did that beautiful communication change? Did it change your relationship? Did you get back together, or was it just a change of relationship and that was okay? And I don't want details, just generally.
Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely, there was a whole different type of connection after that. And there was some kind of, even though he didn't have experiences that and visions and those kind of things, there was some kind of recognition still, not understanding it, but that there's something deeper there. But it was also, I mean, it's been extremely, it's been so confirming. It's been very illuminating in many ways, and also confirming in so many ways. And it's also been extremely jarring and challenging and difficult, and the struggle of, sort of, if I'm gonna put it that way, the struggle of knowing the depth of that soul bond, and having had experiences from that and from true past. I think I mentioned in the previous one that there was a really deep vision of, from, it seemed like it was medieval times.
Yes.
Yes. And it was so beautiful.
Yes.
And very confirming. Yet what is in the now, which there's a lot of wounding over there, on that side in this life. And just really separating it. And I mean, I always could, yet it's also, how do you, because you want so much to, and I even said to him several times that I wish that I could somehow show you the beauty and the significance and the depth of things, and not necessarily in between us, but him, his soul, and away from what's been in this life a lot. And it's so, even though he trusted me, and more he trusted me, I never veered away from anything that I was saying and what I was experiencing. So he trusted me in that, and it was something very new to him, of course, and it's also new to me, even though I get it, because I've had so much stuff throughout my life confirming.
Yes.
So it definitely deepened it in ways that there was more and more trust built up. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster for sure. So
now I'm going to ask you the question. So are you two still together?
No.
Okay. How difficult was it to actually break that bond? Because you were talking about, I mean, because you know that you're meant to be together, right? You know that this is a soul bond. You can feel it right at the bottom of your soul. When you close your eyes, they're there. You can feel the love when they come towards you.
Yes.
Yet you know it's not good enough, and it's not okay to have this abusive, for the want of a better word, right? Whatever, I know that's
or
toxic. Let's say toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And how did you actually say, you know what? No matter how I feel, no matter how close we are, no matter how connected we are, I'm not doing this. How did you do that?
Yeah, well, that has actually been going on throughout the time, and this was end of 2019 that we actually met, right? So
Yes.
3 years ago, just 3 years plus, and again together, as in I don't really know what to call it, but being around each other in so many different regards. It's throughout the whole time when things happened, I always had boundaries. I always have had that.
Yes.
I'm not so, but at the same time, it's been, at times I'm like, why do you accept that? Just because that you wouldn't from anybody else.
Yes.
And it wasn't really an acceptance. Like I really always had boundaries, and there was a lot of walking away and all kinds of things. But somehow it comes. It's not finished. It's not. And then there are moments of light and awareness and these things that come up. So then you're like, you get drawn into degrees, because this is what you're hoping for, and this is what you see and feel and what you know. I mean, in my case, and I got messages from some of his, past. I've had that throughout my life a lot, and it's just, and then you get excited and you get like, yes. So there's been a lot of, that's why I'm saying this roller coaster, because I have never found myself in that. And if I've seen any kind of signs of that, I have just like walked away, and that's it. And that's what I thought I was doing the first time I saw and experienced something. So always boundaries. But then there were definitely a lot of times when I just to keep the peace, being quiet. And even though I felt and sometimes wanted to say something, and what I really, but I'm like, no, not right now. So that just kept on, I think, developing, and just keeping reminding myself of, no matter what, is this very deep bond and connections, and also having knowings of what we're here to do, what I have said from the very moment to him, when I understood what he's here to do,
Yes.
what we're here to do. No matter what happens, we have come into each other's lives to activate more things individually, and if it would be to come together in ways, whatever that would be, then that of course would be an amazing, beautiful, and it's a very powerful connection, and that radiates out. But just to really keep reminding myself of whatever is in the now, whatever shows up, whatever choices are made, whatever words are spoken, whatever, that is all you can go by.
Yes. Yes.
And if there's something that doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel healthy, it doesn't feel uplifting, and for both, then you just need to leave it be. You just simply need to leave it be and trust that whatever. And I have kept also saying to him throughout times in different ways that I just wish, no matter what, if and when there's been a sort of a separation, if you will, not being around each other, and I have always had that. I wish so much that you will find that comes out sometimes, to find that healing, to really, really take responsibility to heal the past for yourself, no matter who's around.
Yes.
But because that's all it comes down to for each and every one of us. We cannot save anybody. We can shine our light. We can be there. We can support. We can, we can be there when somebody's in a heap of pain.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's each, and no matter what has been in the past, and no matter how difficult and challenging, and no matter how toxic or unhealthy, somebody's past may have been, ultimately it is up to us, and it's not to take away any of that. It's happened. It's not like, oh, but just forget about it, and not at all. But it is up to each and every individual to take reins to heal that in whatever way. And that can be like this, right? And it can take a lot of time, sometimes go faster, sometimes it goes, it's a long time. But if we don't fully choose it to work on it, that's a choice.
Yes, I think what you're saying is it really does start with us. It does start with us, as in to love ourselves. And it's such it's become quite a buzzword now. And I don't mean it, but it's to acknowledge yourself, to realize that you are unique and you deserve to have a good life.
Yes.
But you must acknowledge that within yourself, right? Yes. And you must love yourself enough to say, no, that's not okay. And yes, I can only do so much. I can support you. I can hold space for you, but I can't do the work for you.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready to do that work for yourself, then, hey, you know what? Maybe another time, maybe we'll meet again in a few months or a few years or in another life. But right now, I need to love myself enough to walk away from the situation.
Yes.
And I think for me, you see things on the internet and you hear stories and, with coaching and all that, people don't realize how important that is. And I think a lot of us, because we taught, like I'm Italian, and you taught, and I've got the Catholic background. Sorry, no judgment, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So you're taught that the other person is always more important than you. You must always put yourself back. And even as women, we're taught that, right?
Yes.
You must always put yourself second because that's the right thing to do. Otherwise, you're selfish.
Yes.
And I think we have to realize that that's not true, because at the end of the day, God, the universe, whatever you want to say, has made us all the same. We're all the same. We're all pieces of God, because that's how he, she, it, the universe, whatever word you use, that's how we're made.
Right.
And only when we get to that point can we say, okay, this is not okay for us, and I don't accept this. And that's when you can put up boundaries, right? And this is when you can say, no, I'm not accepting this toxic relationship, no matter how much I love you.
Yes.
No matter how much that connection is, no matter how much I feel for you, I can't do this. Is the end of the road. I cannot do any more unless you take responsibility for yourself.
Yes. And that is, that's when we talk about selfish versus selfless, that is also something that I have for a long time tried to, people throw around also online, right? And coaches, and yes, but be selfish. Well, it's not about selfishness, it's about self-fullness. Meaning that first and foremost, you do need to take care of your heart. And also, as a very sensitive empath, and who also has always had people drawn to me who have some kind of wounding, and they open up to me, and I'm a woman, and I am very nurturing. That's the lesson, if you will, for me too, to keep standing in that. No, I'm not going to sacrifice myself. And that's also an ancestral generational thing very much too, right? So it's all that put together, and we're all here to break certain patterns from the ancestry and family and, and so on, generational and societal programming.
Yes. Yes.
And just to really, when it comes to that self-love again, if you don't have that, then you are unable to give that to another in the way that it's healthy. I mean, to degrees you still can, and some people, they pour. Then on the other hand, some people pour everything into somebody else to move away from working on themselves.
Yes. Yes.
So, but it all comes around, and then when you actually step away, whether it's a twin soul, twin flame, soul mate, or friendships, or whatever relationship it is, when there is something toxic and that keeps being a similar pattern that's, like this, then when you really fully step into that, I have unconditional love for your soul and for my soul. And that's when you also give them full on permission and to take responsibility, if they so choose.
Yes.
To go to that.
Yes.
And then whatever happens after, or if it's in a different lifetime, you just really need to release it. And sometimes it's a roller coaster too, right? Because sometimes you're very strong, and you know mentally, in your heart that this is what needs to do, what needs to happen, and what you need to do. But then there are, of course, we still have emotions, and things come in, and when you have senses of the other person, in this case, it's like there's a tug. There is a tug, because you want so much, for this healing, for this forward, for soulfulness, and soulfulness, self-fullness, to come in. And but again, it's whatever you have been and done. and said and given and received and all of this so far, no matter how long how long of a time or how short or what it is, acceptance.
Yes.
And then let it do and be what it's going to be, and trust, and just trust and keep on, have that self-fullness for yourself and for the other from afar, and also collectively, because that's the more self-full and self-whole we are, the more the collective benefits. So, and that's what it's really about. That's what it's really truly about.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, I love that. And I think at this point, it's really about, it's so much about surrender and faith and knowing that everything works out perfectly. And if
Yeah.
you're meant to be back together at this point or whatever it is, you'll come back together once you've both healed and once you're both on the same timeline or whatever it is. And I think that's mostly the most difficult, to actually surrender it and say, okay, I surrender this. I surrender it in love and light, and I
Yeah.
trust and I have faith that everything works out perfectly.
Yeah. And also the when it comes to, say, like a romantic relationship, if that's what's in question here, an intimate romantic relationship, then also to not, no matter how no matter how deeply you have felt things, and you might still do so, um, to fully just, I'm gonna go on and live my life.
Yes, yes.
And even though I can't help what I pick up and feel, but to really work on that constantly. And for me as an empath, it's constant work, because you feel, and you feel so deeply.
Yes.
And that's what other people don't understand. And I'm not saying other people as in they have no empathy. That's not what it's about. But an empath feels so deeply, and we take on, some of us take on, in physical, in mental, in emotional spaces, and it's just to really keep working through that, and trying to. It's not about separation, because we are never separate, even though that's how it appears and that's how it feels, right? But to separate what's not in alignment,
Yeah.
and stand in that light and power and love that I only accept in that which is, from myself, from that person, and from others, and then again, whatever, what I have understood with twin soul, with these deep bond connections, because I do also have a very, very good friend in Sweden who has gone through a twin soul journey. She's a little bit older, and it happened when she was younger, and it was over a longer span of time. And so it's interesting, and what it appears to be is that unless you can really come together in, when you come from similar places, and from that healthier place of love and light, and again, not perfection, that's not what it's about.
Yes.
But to where it is balanced, and where it is healed, or where it is growing, or coming from higher places, then usually, even if you're, well, let's just be around each other like this, because we have other things in common, and we have this to talk about that we really enjoy, but we'll just keep it there. I think it seems like it's very difficult, either for one person or for both of them, because there are so many activations and triggers that come up, and you just can't you just can't quite bypass that and just be and like, oh, okay, it's there. And so it seems as though in those situations you just need to come into that the similar vibrational places. It can't be one here, one there. And I'm not saying good or bad or but spiritually, emotionally, and that kind of connection. There, unless you're getting there, balancing that, it's just best to leave it be.
Yes.
No matter how, probably both people to whatever degree feel like, oh, but this, or oh, I feel this, or oh, I miss them because of that, or whatever it may be. But it doesn't seem to work very well or for long unless you both meet each other.
Yeah. And you have to meet each other because I mean, in the past, people always used to say, you meet your soulmate or you meet your partner and you complete each other, and that's so wrong because that's not the way it is. You have to both be whole within yourself.
Yes.
And you live your life, he lives, you both got to have a life. You've got to know yourself and be yourself within the relationship, and then the relationship grows within, and then you build the relationship together.
And securely, not to have the both individual, like you said, you have your individuality.
Yes.
And of course, everybody has different level of how they want a specific romantic relationship to be and how much you do together and what's what. But if there's not a security in we are both who we are,
yes,
and we come together to complement each other, not complete.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you complement each other and you grow together.
Yes.
Each bringing your own piece to it, and then growing, and then the relationship grows within itself,
Yes.
And then you have the power, because you've both got power.
Yes.
Individual power, and then the power of the relationship.
Yes.
And I think still today we need to understand that it's not about completing each other or living for the other person, like in the past. We're not in the 50s. It doesn't work that way,
No.
It's weird. Like,
yes.
It feels icky almost,
Yeah, it's a forced programming that this is how it should be for this and that. And again, we all have different, I mean, if we go now to a relationship, right? The people have their own, it's not like this is wrong and this is right, unless it's unhealthy and toxic. So if two people are together and then they live their lives in this regard and they handle it in that regard, and then maybe somebody would say, well, that doesn't seem right, But if those people are really happy and joyful and that's how it works for them, then that's what it is. It's for nobody else to judge, because you're not in their shoes, if you will.
Yes.
But then again, as long as it's coming from those places, and I think, I mean, all of us, no matter how individual and no matter how independent we might be, I have always been a very independent person in so many different ways, and I have never, in my case, I have never looked to a man to fulfill my, to complete me. Even if I'm with somebody and it's an amazing relationship, and say there's a strength coming from him that can help me in ways, I'm still gonna do and be my own thing. So I'm not just going to be like, oh, okay, well, now it's, now I got this taken care of and, what have you. I have never come from that place. And I think that's also what's happening a lot, and a little bit of the struggle in the times we live in when it comes to female and male. And again, we all have male and female energies in us, right? But now I'm talking about the male and the female. It's like we come from this nurturing, and we're always going to have differences in that, right?
Yes,
and we're always going to have certain drives because we are either male or female and so on. But now what's happening is that we are called to, and we know it, to shift this culture, if you will, more and more into not having these attachments. And so that we are who we are individually, but coming together is strengthening. And it's also because most people, even the hermits, and then I can be one, and I need my alone time and so on.
Yeah.
But most people at one point or another, we want to be connected with either a partner, have some kind of connection, because we're not meant to just be here human beings to ourselves.
No.
Overall.
No. Yes.
And so then it's about that, finding and realizing and learning what really works for each individual, and then come together with somebody who comes from a similar place, and just feel the safety and secure. Nothing is ever set in stone, right?
No.
Nothing is ever set in stone. And we cannot, this notion, and I think I made a reference the last time, that I feel like I have been like a Romeo and Juliet in a past life, like this undying, like hopeful romantic. I have called myself always. But it's not about people come into our lives again for reasons, seasons, or lifetimes. And even if we feel like, oh my God, I have met this person, that this is it, like this is going to be it for, yes, that would be really nice to just have that. But then again, we can't. And it's not about, when you talk about and you go into a relationship, it's not about like, well, is this how you see it? Like, are we going to be together for the rest of our lives in this life? To have the feel of that, I think most people want, if that's where they are. But to commit to that. But also to surrender that might not be the case.
Well, I'm also a hopeless romantic. I believe, I read fairy tales all my life, right? Well, not all my life, when I was growing up. But that's taken it to the extreme, okay? I'm not that romantic.
Right.
But I believe if you connected and you have those feelings and you work together and you grow together, so you support each other in whatever you do. So he supports you. I'm using he because whatever you use, right? Because he supports you and you support him.
Yeah.
And you nurture because that's who you are.
Yes.
And he protects you if that's what he is. And I think we need to respect each other. I think we've become so crazy with these male and female and all these labels that we forget who we are. And it's almost like you feel guilty for wanting to nurture and wanting to be feminine, or wanting to be, and you know what, we all have males and female, and yes, we in business, I'm a male sometimes, because if I have to fix something, I'll fix it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to ask someone and beg someone to do it for me. However, I do want to nurture because that's who I am. I want to love somebody. I want to be like held, you know, and that's okay. And I think we need to be able to be individual and respect who we are and respect everyone else's opinion of what they want, like you were saying, for love. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter whether it's what kind of relationship it is. It's each to their own, whatever works for you.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think we have to come from from my opinion, that's where we have to come from, where we say, you know what, you're in love. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you've got that connection, and that's all that really matters at the end.
Absolutely, and I have always had that, you know, again since I was just a little kid. I have felt this strong, you know, that I'm not gonna, again, for lack of a better word here, settle for something that is, well, you know, the practical stuff works, and you know, this is fine, but you're unfulfilled in other ways. And of course, we also can't expect one person to offer everything at the same time. We also have other people around us, right? That we can hopefully lean on for, you know, what we also need, and so on. But when you have that, and that's why I have always wanted to call it hopeful romantic, not hopeless, because it's just, I believe it's there, and I have seen it, and I have felt it, I have experienced it, and I also see, you know, you see other people, yet it seems like that idea is overall going out the door a bit in the society in which we live. To go back to what you were saying about, it's almost like it's either when things are starting to shift and elevate, and there needs to be a balance, and there needs to be transformations and shifts and all that, from things we have been programmed into.
Yes.
Then it tends to be when the whole collective is kind of starting, there are trends, right, that happens. And then it becomes so like it's either black or white, night or day. And it's like when we come to the feminine and the nurturing, like, you know, you see a lot of females, women be like, well, I don't need a man. You know, I don't. You know, no, you don't.
You want?
Exactly.
It's different.
Yes, exactly. And also to not take it then to be, well, I'm just going to be a full-on man in you know, in that regard, that, well, you know, this and that, and you know, we have our foundations. And the whole nurturing with the female and the feminine. After all, we wouldn't be here if there wouldn't be for male and female. Yes. Nobody would be here.
Of course.
And why not accept that?
Exactly. That's the way nature intended, right?
Yes. So to accept that, to work with that, and to just elevate it. And to you know, and to be in that, and when we talk about equality, you know, for example, equality in that, yes, both people or both genders, however you want to look at it, to be respected and honored and accepted, all around, and to have all the you know, the abundance and the prosperities, and not to be taken away anything because one is female and one is male, and so on. But at the same time, also not go into, well, you know, I'm gonna do this because, you know, I'm a female, and now I'm gonna get into this because males get this, and And, so now I'm going to, or vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
accept that we have differences, accept that we're all here to work together.
Yes.
And we're all worthy of love and acceptance and respect and admiration and all that. But that doesn't mean, and yes, we do all have the same needs, no matter what, at the end of the day, just in different ways.
Yes.
No matter what gender, no matter what skin tone, no matter what culture, country, and so on.
Yeah.
But, when you take it to the extremes, and I think we've also, know what we're talking about a little bit here without really going into it.
Yeah.
It's just, it takes away from who we truly are.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And then when it comes to, so it is about coming into our heart and our souls more. And that's what we are greatly called upon to do. And that's also coming back to this whole twin flame journey. Again, even if you have met in this life, because not many people do, but I think it seems that there's an influx of that lately, because it's a very powerful connection that radiates out into the collective. And even if you have met, and you can also make choices that for the rest of, maybe you won't be together, like actually together or around each other at all. But nevertheless, you take from what has activated, what has shown, what has, all of that, no matter what it is, you take it into your soul and grow from there. No matter who you will be with in an intimate relationship or not, that's never going to be broken, that soul bond. Just to
yes.
But that doesn't mean that you're waiting around for each other, or that you actually say that, oh, this is what it's going to be, and we are going to be this and that. No, it's simply, and that can be taken into any relationship then, that we need to come from this self-wholeness and self-fullness.
Yes.
And accept each other. When you talk about women being nurturing, yes, that is a predisposition, kind of, that's a drive that we have. And then from being an empath, I mean, my God, the nurturing instincts that set in. But we also need that from the male in a situation where it's we need that back too. So I think that's also part of what is happening here with the male and female dynamic and how the generations have been. That's where there needs to be more balance. And that's what's been working its way to come through. The emotional elevation and involvement. And that doesn't mean that the male is going to be like a female all of a sudden, like,
no,
oh, I'm gonna, no, or vice versa.
No. You need that, because sometimes I need nurturing, and sometimes he needs nurturing.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of the relationship, right?
It's a dance.
You dance and you grow together, and you open communication.
Yes.
And you have this bond, and with the communication, and you speak to each other, and you know exactly what each other likes. And that's what the beauty of the relationship is, because you're learning from each other all the time.
Yes.
You're dancing all the time, and that's what makes it beautiful.
Yes.
Yes, but it's also about respect. You've got to respect each other. You've got to honor each other. You've got to love each other.
Yes.
Because it has to come from somewhere. It's not about, hey, you know what, you did this to me, I'm going to do this to you. That's what is that? So it has to come from the heart.
That's ego and pettiness.
Yes, and that's what is the point of that?
Yeah.
So it has to come from the heart. And then from there you work and you dance. You dance together. And if there's a problem, you sit down and you You say, you know what, you hurt me, or I didn't like this, or how can we fix it?
Yeah.
So it comes from almost from a higher emotional intelligence. So again, you both together and you work together and grow from there.
Yes, and communication.
Communication
That
is huge.
always key. And
Yes.
if one or both people are not willing to communicate,
Yes, it breaks that bond because you have to, because there will be things that hurt you or whatever. And a lot of times in a relationship, you do things without, you're not doing it to upset the other person. And you don't know, because it triggers, you trigger people and you trigger each other, right?
Yes, yes.
So to be able to say, you know what, I'm feeling there's something wrong here. I'm feeling this relation, there's something going on here. Can we speak about it? Or this is how I'm feeling, what's happening? Because you usually pick it up anyway, especially if you're on the same wavelength.
Yes, absolutely. There's always that. You need to work through it, and even say in my case, because I see through so much of what comes out of somebody, pains and words that might be very harsh, and I'm talking in general, certain behaviors and all that. I see and I can read through where it's coming from, and a lot of times, I'm able to not take it personally.
Don't take it personally.
But it's still, I also being that kind of person, you also are not meant to take all that on, because it's still energy coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
That, so sometimes you can be taken for granted, or because when you are that person who always kind of has an understanding of where things come from, and so on, that we must also understand, and coming back to what we talked about in the beginning, and again, more toxic, right? But some people also are in abusive relationship, and when we talk about abusive, that means verbal, emotional, mental, and physical, or either or.
Yeah, definitely.
And so when people stay in that, that means that you don't have the self-love and the self-respect, because you don't think that you can have better. And that usually stems from something, right? And it can even be self-sabotage, because it's something that's a pattern to be broken. I have had quite a few girlfriends that I have actually helped out of abusive relationships, because I have seen, and again, I haven't tried to save them, in any way, but just really, you are worthy of so much more than this, and that's something that you need to take in here.
Yes.
And then, and once that light goes off, if it does, then you move away from that, and start stepping into what you truly deserve and worthy of, and so on. So again, just to make a reflection back on that, that whatever it is, the work is always coming from ourselves, and that self-fullness. And again, to not view things as so black or white, or, well, I'm going to be selfish now, or I'm always so selfless. Like, when you're selfless, then you get taken advantage of, and we can be very selfless in moments, right, where we have, meaning that we have no stake in what we're doing, helping, or another being, whether it's an animal or a person, or whatever it is. Yes, that is selflessness. But if we keep thinking and living that we must be selfless in every way, and not necessarily consider ourselves, no matter if we're male or female also, then that's not our higher selves. That's soulful. That's not self-fullness. So
yes,
that's what we're collectively working on a lot. and it always comes from each individual. But when you find these people, no matter who they are in your life, friends, family, relatives, you know, work associates, you know, whatever it is, you keep on working and affirming those things, and then it will radiate out, and that's what the world is really truly in need of.
Yes. So it's about finding that self-worth and standing in your power.
Yes, power from within.
Yes, standing in your own power and finding the self-worth and the love within yourself for yourself.
And that also means just to, because some people, they also they confuse a little bit. Well, I'm a very powerful person and I'm very strong and I can do this and I have power in these regards. No, that's not what it's about. Power within and with, as opposed to power over.
Yes.
And that's also the society that we have been living in for so long. The power over people, telling us what to do and who to be and so on, in every which way. And that is what's greatly wanting to shift and needing to shift.
Yes.
And that shows up in relationships and in the, you know, in relationships. Yeah.
So it's a power within, because it's that light within that shines out.
Yes.
Well, on that note, I think that's a beautiful way to end this. This Thank you so much, Osa. We're going to continue because there's something else that's come out of this. So we'll talk about that next week, just because we can, because this is such a powerful subject. And again, power as in power, coming from love. Okay. Right. Power is within. So thank you so much, Osa. It's been an honor and a pleasure again to have this conversation. And we'll see you all next week. So watch this space and check us out. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Carina. Beautiful soul. It's been a pleasure once again, and I can't wait for more. It's an honor and a pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Love and light, and happy holidays, right? We're in the midst of
all
of that, so
lots of love, and lots of love for everybody during the holidays, because it can be a hard time.
Absolutely. Love and light with love and light.
Thank you, Osa. Thank you. Privilege and honor, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you, Osa. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.